The Point of Ecclesia. Now, Ecclesia was basically, its fundamental point of it is that it's the sequel to Morning Stars, and that's a continuation of a story of Morning Stars, what was founded in Morning Stars. Now, it was, initially it was sort of a second book of a trilogy, but the second book of a trilogy, Morning Stars, was probably, Michael, I think, was going to be the name of it, and or Messiah. It could be Michael. I can't remember for sure. I think it was probably Michael was the name of the second one, or it could have been Messiah, but it was probably Michael. But it sort of changed the initial plans for the Morning Stars trilogy, and I remember when I was here at 29 Merriman Crescent in the front room, the lounge room, not the living room, but the lounge room. For a while I was in there writing notes on paper. I don't have those notes anymore, but I was writing out some material for, I think the PC was down or something, but I was writing out notes on paper for Ecclesia, the story, the early writing of it, first chapter and stuff. I was writing that out on paper, and I remember thinking that I had a bit of information, but when it was all typed up, it wasn't actually quite that much as I thought it might have been. But I typed it up started writing there in the front room in 29 Merriman on paper. And then when the computer came back, or I started using the computer, whatever it was, I started typing it out. And eventually got it written, and it was a sequel. Now, there was also written Glory Excelsior, and, well, not Glory Excelsior, it had all sorts of titles here, early stuff. But the Glory Excelsior Infinity sort of stuff was being written as well. And Yodi Devil was written as well. And that information sort of was written around the time of Ecclesia as well. I can't remember the exact details of how it all came out. But Ecclesia essentially was the continuation of the Morning Stars dialogue. And that's what it served its purpose as. And what I was working towards with Morning Stars anyway was the Judgment Day reality anyway. So Ecclesia was not intended to be like the only book in what was coming out. It was intending to be volume 2, and it was also called developments at certain stages. It was intended to be volume 2, and I was still generally working towards the same agenda. When it comes right down to it, the original trilogy's basic idea was met. And that goes from, I suppose, Glory Excelsior now through to Judgment Day. So the intention of the original trilogy, which I had in mind, did actually come out in time. It was just there was a lot more in it than was originally planned with the first thoughts involved. It was quite a bit more scope. So essentially, Ecclesia fits into that as well, and it serves as the sequel to Morning Stars and the prequel, I guess, to Rebellion, which is the third volume. Now, the actual story itself, I'm not sure if I had any really particular great plan or plot beforehand when I was writing it. I don't really think I had the end in mind terribly much for Ecclesia. A lot of my stuff, I don't necessarily have I don't have the plot, I just, as it comes out. And with Ecclesia, I think one of the things I did want to do, and which was on my mind for the early stuff, and a lot of the time with the Angel Saga, with the Chronicles of Children of Destiny, I wanted to develop some of the other angels more. I wanted to, with my list of angels which I'd come up with, I wanted to focus on some of the other angels in the encyclopedia information, the other angels I developed. So that it wasn't just the Morning Stars angels, that wasn't the point. One of the points was to develop the other angels a bit and focus on some of the other angels a bit at that time. And it achieved that, and it addressed it, and worked on things like Uramiel and Matrel and so forth. So that was one of the points of Ecclesia, to develop some of the other angels in the saga. And it generally achieved that result. Now, in some recent thoughts on it, it sort of feels like a sequel, and it feels like a sequel where the strength of the rebellion of Ceruvial has been removed from it, and in some ways, I sort of thought maybe this is how Morning Stars naturally would be when they're quite passive and calm, and it's possibly the natural progress of innocence without seduction, if you know what I mean. Innocence being a part of Morning Stars and seduction being a part of Morning Stars. So I think it possibly achieves, or perhaps is, a natural enough sequel in the end, even though it's sort of original in its own right, and it has its own name and identity to it, the Ecclesia novel. So that's just a bit of, that's sort of the point of Ecclesia.